coronavirus on the front page of pretty much every one of our mastheads, and with good reason. This story is dominating news here and overseas. Let's start with this front page of the Australian newspaper, and this had been flagged earlier in the week. The federal government has been positioning to make this a little bit more formal. The headline here: surplus lost in $10 billion virus rescue operation. The Prime Minister Scott Morrison has jettisoned the budget surplus to fund a coronavirus stimulus package of almost $10 billion in a bid to stave off a recession. The story here by Simon Benson and Patrick Commons. Cam, I'll come to you first on this. Like I said, the federal government had been sort of gently flagging this. I don't think it comes as any great surprise, though it's probably a relief to have it this formal. What's your take?
Oh, look, clearly they were working up to this story, which will be prominent tomorrow. And look, I don't think anybody, at the end of the day, any right-thinking person is going to be surprised or overly critical. I know there'll be a lot of criticism from the normal people in the commentariat, but this is obviously needed and practical. The other interesting thing about this story, though, the sub-story, if you like, or the subtext, it is states and payroll tax, and there's been a lot of bleating from state premiers and ministers about, oh, the federal government are going to rain down money and help us, but this is where the states need to do some heavy lifting in a practical way to support small and medium-sized enterprises.
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Cam, because that was exactly where I was going to go next. I was at a CEDA function last week where this was flagged and the state's responsibilities. Caroline, you know, there is much that the states could be doing to make it easier for businesses to do business.
Exactly right, Jem. And look, in the end, red tape is going to be a big issue here. There's a federal level of red tape, but there's also a state level of red tape. And unfortunately, things like payroll tax and things like stamp duty as well, they're those taxes which everyone pays and no one knows why. So any relief that the state governments can give businesses there will have an immediate impact. But, you know, there's plenty of other things that states and even the federal government can pare back on just to give businesses a bit of breathing space.
Yeah, you're quite right. It is about breathing space. Staying with the Australian, I want to look at this story by Paul Garvey and Deborah Cornwall. Concert hit by infection fears. This is extraordinary, particularly when the amount of publicity around this. I mean, publicity is an understatement. The amount of coverage and awareness around this virus is off the charts, and authorities are tracking an audience from a weekend Perth orchestra performance in the latest coronavirus scare as the death toll rose to 3 on Sunday, and federal officials moved to allow doctors to consult patients by phone to protect them from infection. Jim, what happened here was a woman from Perth who had arrived back from an international trip, was tested for the virus, and then before waiting for the results promptly took herself off to a Wasso concert. It's just extraordinary.
And she's not the only one. I think there's a case in Hobart where a chap was diagnosed and he went off to work serving food and drink. But the whole, seriously, this entire thing, it reminds me of, you've all heard of chaos theory, where the butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and a tornado happens in Texas. Well, this is it. Somebody sneezes in China and we've got to run on toilet paper in Woolies aisle 4 in Blacktown. I mean, it is truly bizarre. But it's a harbinger of bigger things, and it just shows how delicately poised and balanced the Australian economy is. We're right up there, very tight with China, and now we're finding out that perhaps we should have done what all our financial advisors advise us, to diversify our portfolio. We've put the whole lot in the casino of life, we've put the whole lot on China, and that could go very badly for us. Very badly.
Look, I think